What's up, everybody? I'm Russell Taylor, and welcome to SOULVERSATIONS, where I talk to artists that engage the world through the Black lens. So today I'm in Washington, D.C. at Union Market. If you're ever in the city, make sure you stop by, grab a cup of coffee, and grab a little bite to eat. It's a really cool place to go in the city. But today, most importantly, I am hanging out with my dear friend, Cy Smith, writer, producer, actress, singer, all of these things. And you can catch her from Carnegie Hall to the Kennedy Center to the Symphony and Moscow. She is a tremendous artist. And today we have her in Washington, D.C. on the SOULVERSATION couch. Stand by, check out the interview. This is SOULVERSATIONS. Let's go. Ms. Cy Smith, welcome to SOULVERSATIONS.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. So let's get to this talking, sis.
All right.
All right. I have a question, which is one of the most important questions.
Okay.
Where are you from?
Well, I was born in New York City, and I was raised here in D.C., Maryland, kind of all over. You know, I think we moved from New York to Southeast. Mm-hmm. We lived over near like Minnesota and C Street in that area. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it just seemed like my mom and I moved around a lot. So, you know, in fact, I went to elementary school right down the street from here. I went to Naylor Road Private School.
So how was it coming up for the interview? You had mentioned that it was a bit cathartic.
Yeah, it was crazy because I hadn't been in this area in a really long time, you know. And as soon as I, you know, came off the Parkway and hit Naylor Road, I mean, just all the memories came flooding back, you know. Mm-hmm. It was a little private school that was mostly Black, of course, you know, and that, you know, that was sort of my foundation, you know. And I think that school kind of spoke a lot to how I came up, period. You know, even when I moved and changed schools, you know, over and over, Naylor Road kind of set the premise for me, you know, and the trajectory, I think, for how I socialized and how I learned, you know.
One of the things, because this component of SOULVERSATIONS, we're focusing on DMV connected, DMV raised artists. And one of the running themes is that being from the DMV, DC being the center, but Chocolate City is not just, you know, a fun name. There is a foundation of being around people that look like you, share culture, and how that starts to build your formation, your foundation. So how does being from the DMV show up in your life and in your music even?
Oh my gosh. It shows up in my music pretty, you know, regularly and profoundly. Like, I'm you know, you can't even mention Cy Smith in Los Angeles without somebody mentioning go-go, because I've done so many go-go's in LA, you know. And I think even just to the point that I'm sort of a pocket singer. Like everything I do is based in a pocket, you know, and that comes from
it in the pocket.
That comes from my musical schooling here. Mm-hmm. And I also, you know, the church foundation that I had here, I went to First Baptist on Minnesota and C Street. Again, Minnesota Avenue. There was a certain foundation of socialization I got there, you know, outside of music. Just the way I interacted with my folks, you know, my friends, my elders, how I learned to, you know, speak in front of people, you know, all of that Chocolate City plays a part in, you know, because I think wherever you meet somebody from DC, we have a way that we kind of carry ourselves, and all of that comes from, you know, how we're schooled, you know. And I
speaking of schools, real quick.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Howard University. You better know it. You better say it. HU.
All right. I'm sorry to cut your train of thought, but I knew it was going to come one way or another. So.
You know, but I do. I think there's a way that we hold ourselves everywhere we go. And it has to do with the fact that we come from a place where we're not the minority, you know, so we learn to take up space, you know, without feeling like we have to reduce ourselves or make ourselves less than, or make ourselves smaller, or, you know.
I get it.
Like we walk right into a room and, you know, and do that, you know, spread out because it's ours to begin with, you know. And
no one has given it to us.
Right. So I think it's different than, you know, than the way, you know, you might see someone carry themselves from someplace else.
Right.
You know, yeah. Now I'm the guitar. Your love takes me higher, and I don't wanna zoom out. I wanna keep it in perspective. Your love feels like fire, and I don't wanna burn out. I gotta keep it calm, cool, collected. Seems like every time we touch, the sensation's just too much, and I fall into this hole with you. By the time I'm coming to, you do that little thing you do, and I lose my self-control with you. Now I'm not saying that I wanna stop. Please don't stop. A quitter I am not. And I'll go to the very end with you, yes. I'm just saying, baby, please be kind. Please be kind. We're talking about my time. And I wanna spend it all with you. Your love takes me higher, and I don't wanna zoom out. I wanna keep it in perspective. Your love feels like fire, and I don't wanna burn out. I gotta keep it cool. Is this part of your master plan? To have me eating out your hand? If so, I'll feast all day and night. Feed me love till I'm obese with thee. I'll be a beast with thee. Doing things that no damn decency. I'm not saying that I wanna stop. No, please don't stop. A quitter I am not. And I'll go to the very end with you. I'm just saying, baby, please be kind. We're talking about my time, and I wanna spend it all with you. Your love takes me higher, and I don't wanna zoom out. I wanna keep it in perspective. Your love, it feels like fire. Ooh, yeah. And I don't wanna burn out, no, I gotta keep it cool. Listen. Ba-da-ba, 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 Your love takes me higher, and I don't wanna zoom out. I wanna keep it in perspective. Your love feels like fire, and I don't wanna burn out. I gotta keep it calm. I don't wanna zoom out, no. And I don't wanna burn out, no. I don't wanna on the one. Burn me, babe.
The spark of music. When did you know I have to do this? Like everything else falls away, and this is what I'm gonna do.
It was a very specific and memorable moment for me.
Okay.
I went to see with my mother Your Arms Too Short to Box with God at the Warner Theater.
Blackity, black.
At the Warner Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And Patti LaBelle was in the show.
Oh.
And I was
She was in there.
She was in the show. At least that night she was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was probably about 7 years old. And I don't know how my mom scored front row seats, but she did. We were in the front row. And this was my first musical and my first, show. And Patti LaBelle comes out at the end during curtain call and sings, and she stands people up in the front row. She came right to me and stood me up and was singing, doing the Patty thing. And I looked into her eyes, and I knew right then and there, like, this is what I want to do. I want to get people up. I want to, whatever that thing was that she radiated inside of my body, I was like, yes, injected into my veins. That's what I want to, you know. And that was the moment. And it's strange because I knew I would never ever sound like Patti LaBelle. You know what I mean? Like all the singers that I loved growing up, I knew I would never sound like them, but I knew that I wanted to be that, or to have that kind of platform, you know? And so even if I don't think my relatives even knew, you know, that that's what I wanted to do, but I held on to that memory in that moment. And I got to tell her that too.
How did that?
Oh, she loved that story.
Yeah. Miss Patty is the best.
Yeah.
So, if you were to describe your musical DNA, so Cy Smith's catalog, when you step on stage, what is your DNA?
My musical DNA, I would say it's a few chromosomes of, you know, funk. My musical DNA is like if Diana Ross and Sly Stone had a child. That's what it is. I'm that combination, I think, you know. It's because Sly had the funk, which was very obvious, but he also had some rock and roll elements and some jazz elements, you know, and Diana Ross had all of the, you know, refined soul moments, you know, and that sort of refined Motown thing. I think I'm a combination of all of that.
I would add a little touch of jazz. I don't know who, but I would add some jazz because you give me a little bit of skip it up and do bop bop bop.
Well, I said Sly has the jazz
he
too.
does have,
and so does Diana Ross.
Diana Ross definitely with the standards and stuff. I feel you.
Right, with the standards and stuff, right. But totally, and I think the jazz element probably comes from just my mom playing a lot of, you know, Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald, that kind of stuff around the house. Yeah. Oh, and I can't say jazz without talking about Chuck Brown. I was going to say, because most of my early jazz schooling was from Chuck Brown's covering of so many standards, you know.
That's a real thing too when it goes back to cultural and like how does DC show up, because that's something, you know, I talked to Wes in another episode and that we did talk about Chuck Brown, but go-go music is they repurpose standards.
Right.
And that's really important.
It's really important. And Chuck Brown was, I think, just single-handedly responsible for teaching a whole generation or two or three, you know, just a bunch of standards. And you can talk to anybody. Yeah, you can talk to anybody from DC who's about our age, or whatever, you know, and they'll
You mean 22?
Yes, 22.
Okay.
And you know, and they'll be able to sing Moody's Move word for word, you know, that kind of thing, you know, and that's because, you know, he taught us all of that.
That's
you know?
really important.
Yeah.
That's really important. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, of course.
How do you feel about Black woman, Black singer, art activism?
I mean, you know, well, I can't speak about the election without speaking about Stacey Abrams, you know, so as far as Black women and the election, Stacey Abrams all day, that's the tweet.
Big up.
Big up. As for personally, you know, where politics or activism or social consciousness or awareness shows up in my art, I'm probably a little more abstract in the way that I talk about things like that. I often make my lyrics analogous, you know, to a situation. So for instance, Sometimes a Rose Will Grow in Concrete, the song that the title track to my album is really an ode to Blackness. And it's really about this sort of concept of flowers popping up in places that are seemingly impossible to pop up in, right? We Were Never Free is another song where I kind of speak in analogies. And that's the concept of flowers growing in a big, beautiful field, and they have a network, you know, like trees and flowers talk to each other via their roots. This is a real thing. And to pluck flowers up and just put them somewhere else for our own, you know, personal enjoyment, I feel like that's what happened to Black people. We were just plucked up from a continent and put somewhere to make that place more beautiful, you know, and make that place more functional and make that place work, and disconnected from every everything we knew, and disconnected literally from our ground, and how we have to sort of reconnect and make our roots somewhere else, that song, the lyrics go, pretty little flowers, brighten up my space. No one knows the horrors that brought them to this place, So I think sometimes people as artists speak very literally, but people like me, I'm all flowery.
I would say that song is one of my favorite songs. Of course, you know what my favorite song
Which
of yours
one?
is. Camelot.
Oh, thank you.
But this Rose and Concrete is a brilliant way. I find that artists, myself included, we struggle sometimes because the assumption is that because we are Black artists and learned, if you will, that we have this responsibility leaped onto us that we have to, like, in your face activate.
Right.
But we also can be pretty about it and poetic and craft a song that gives you the message.
Yeah.
I just so happens I have a song that is right in your face, but I want the option. I don't want the responsibility.
I want the option, and I just love language too much to not give myself the chance to speak in ways that can be construed all kinds of ways, depending on who's reading the words or hearing the words,
And that is an artist. That is an artist.
La da ya 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 ya, la da ya ya ya. Sometimes a rose will grow in concrete. Sometimes the caged bird will sing. Sometimes the whole can be incomplete. Sometimes the captive don't complain. Sometimes the choosy have no options. Sometimes the loser wins the fame. Sometimes we'll never get no answers, but still the questions will remain. La da la 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 da yeah. Sometimes the sweet will leave you sour. Sometimes forever lasts a day. Sometimes the cure is in a flower. Sometimes the lost will make their way. Sometimes the killers are so gentle. Sometimes survivors live in pain. Sometimes we'll never get no answers. The questions will remain. Oh,
So also, I would like to talk about COVID, which is the nasty little person that is in everybody's room.
Right.
During COVID, how do you feel music, like our industry has changed? How do you think the new normal will be for us for music?
That's a really good question. I don't know. It's like I almost can't see that far into the future. I feel like COVID has made, for me at least, that I can only see into next month or next week, because I just don't know what is gonna happen,
I feel that you've done an excellent job with, you actually have inspired me and a couple of artists, because you said, okay, I have this grand piano in my living room, and husband Sean, okay, let's grab a camera. Right. And I got some lights. I got a show in a week because I just gotta sing.
That's the thing. Yeah, I kind of made live streaming a thing for me because I need the platform. I need the stage. You know, like I literally put on a gown and walk around my house because I just like dressing up and doing,
Of course you do.
I just like being on stage.
Right.
I like being amplified, because, as a kid, as a little brown girl, a lot of times we were just sort of invisible, and I like the opportunity to be seen, and not only be seen, but be undeniably, unignorable,
I'm here for it.
So yes, so I had to embrace the technology and learn how to use OBS and learn how to, get some web cameras and set up scenes and automate my cameras. And, I had to learn how to do all of that. And made it, and I needed the revenue.
And there's that.
I needed the revenue.
Yeah.
And people came along. People will go if you kind of guide them. The movie where they say if you build it, they will come. It's that kind of thing. So I don't know if the future after COVID will keep live streaming as such a thing, but I think it might, because I think people are getting used to it. People send me pictures where they are broadcasting my show on their big TVs. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, this might be something that we can get used to. Yeah.
I hope so. In which case, I'm going to have to enlist you to help me get up to speed on that.
I would gladly give you a tutorial.
All right, Sai. So there's a rule to this question. The rule is we are speaking in affirmative. It is already so.
Okay.
So no like conditional, I want it to be if, none of that.
Okay.
It is already so.
Okay.
The year is 2060. We will be only 40 years old at that time. What is Sai Smith's legacy?
My legacy is that I have inspired a generation or two of young Black women who saw me when they were kids and saw a girl up on stage with her natural hair, or big hair, or nappy hair, or whatever she decided to wear, a free Black woman. I inspired a couple of generations of Black women to be free, like personally liberated, I think. Yeah.
I just got moved in my heart on that one.
Really?
Yes, because it was authentically so. Amen.
Thank
you.
Well,
thank you, Sai Smith. Thank you for coming and hanging out. You about to kill this set.
Oh my
and
goodness.
all the grandeur. You're going to sing my favorite song, Camelot. Thank you for joining us on Soulversations. I'm Russell Taylor. This is Sai Smith. She's about to kill the stage, y'all. Stay tuned.
Oh, la da da, yeah. Oh, la da da, yeah. Floating slowly over time. Skipping heartbeats feels just fine. Yeah. Happens your love will come to find you.
Thanks again for tuning in to Soulversations, where we had a great conversation and some wonderful live performance from my friend, Cy Smith. Make sure you follow her on social media at Cyberspace. That's her SYBERSPACE. And check out more episodes. We have some really wonderful things coming, lots of great artists. And in Soulversations, you can be sure to get a great live performance and also some cool questions through the Black lens. I'm Russell Taylor. Come through, Soulversations. Check us out. Let's go.
Before you came along, I was hardly living. I was stuck in one place while the world was moving. Love was just a game with no winners, only losers. I was losing. You brought me into this technicolor. You patched me up and fixed me like no other. Now we're face to face. Can you see me? Only you can see me.
Lightning round.
Scared.
Okay, so we have the lightning round. You're going to ask pretty fast. First thing that comes to mind, 5 questions.
Okay.
5 questions. Ready?
Okay.
All right. If you could see a live show, past, present, or future, who would it be?
The Jackson 5.
What's your favorite thing about DC?
The way brothers talk here. I love.
Example.
I just love their accents.
Young.
Yeah, young, Mo, everything.
I love it.
It's so comforting.
Dream collaboration, dead or alive?
Raphael Sadiq.
Ooh. Who are you listening to right now?
Cleo Soul is one person I'm listening to. Brandy is another one. And Busta Rhymes' new album. A lot.
Hardcore. Okay, and what is a book that you cannot live without?
My journal.
Word.
Because, that's where I write my affirmations.
Okay, so I may have asked you only 4 or maybe 5, but I feel like I want to do one more with you. What have you been doing during COVID? Has it been a creative time or self-care?
Creative time is self-care for me. So, yes, to answer that.
Mm-hmm.
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for playing Lightning Round. you exceeded my expectations. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cy Smith.
I appreciate you. I'm ready for some more. Give me some more.